Oh, I've got switch up on here. Yeah, I'm just going to turn music off, guys, because it's a little bit hard for me to concentrate when I've got the music playing in my head. Yeah, sorry, it just took me a few minutes to start up. I just getting everything set up, trying to be a little bit more structured this time. I've also decided to upload the hands directly to GTA rather than just like pulling them off PT4 and then inputting them manually. I've just uploaded some more hands as well because I did actually play a little bit off stream yesterday. Yeah. And then these are the hands from previous session. I don't think it's changed too much. I don't think I had many pots yesterday where like I lost a lot. These are the notes we've made from previous sessions for anyone who wants a refresh and for anybody new. For anybody new, basically we're doing a cash game bankroll challenge, and every stream we review the previous session, mainly focusing on the worst hands and hands which I've tagged, which might be feel like I haven't got enough like max value or whatever, but mainly focusing on the worst hands at the moment. In terms of loss. We study every day because I feel like I need to. And if I want to get ahead of the curve, I feel like a lot of our game needs to be study. It can't be 95% play, 5% study. Like it needs to be, like a good split. And I feel like doing 2-3 hours study before every session from previous session is going to lead me into a winner. The idea with this bankroll challenge is we're going to build a bankroll, and we're aiming for 500 NL. So yes, it's going to be a long-term series. It's going to take us a while to get there. I do have winning samples up to 50 NL. I have played a little bit higher, but not enough that I can say to you confidently that I have winning samples. So I know I can get to a certain stage, no problem. But it's still going to be a challenge. It's not just going to be like good viewing. It's going to be a challenge for me too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So these are notes I've had so far. Bear in mind, these are like notes I've observed. I might edit these, I might delete these, I might change these. But so far, versus Rex, facing unusually large bets in spots, I feel is always the nuts. But unblocking draws, 3-bet ace king suited in position, ace king clubs, ace king spades in position, flop king 5-8 heart diamond diamond. So we got top pair, but we're unblocking all the draws, like diamond draws and straight draws. Facing shove or silly raise. If I remember right, in this instant, I just see bet standard size, and the guy re-raised me to like 35 or 40 big blinds or something, and I was like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? And these spots are like always feel super nutted, but you've also got like a really good hand where you're unblocking everything. EV is the same with like king 10 diamond diamond, king queen diamond diamond, etc. So top pair with the flush draw is actually the same EV as ace king, but unblocking all the draws. But yet king 10, king queen, etc. can still improve versus say sets, etc. So I thought that was like a really cool note. And I suppose you could kind of eliminate draws when they sort of raise that size and not go all in or whatever, because I think commonly they'll go all in with them hands the way they go all in with ace king and so on. So I don't think blockers plays as big of a role as it should versus these plays. So I think we can actually make a case for folding some of these hands, even though it feels awful. Versus underbluffed opponents, equity seems more important than blockers. Maybe take blockers with a pinch of salt in these spots. So yeah, I would say versus underbluff opponents, the good hands with equity seem more important than the blockers. And bearing in mind that the blockers play a part when you're playing against people that are bluffing and so on. So I think when we're playing against like Rex, which are like underbluffed and don't raise enough and so on, maybe we need to take the blockers with a bit of a pinch of salt and be calling down with good hands, but good hands with equity as well, and overfold in some of these spots. Some EV notes I found. So ace king off, EV is the same flatten in position as shoving. Take note when worried about fold equity. Jack Jack EV is the same whether you're calling, raising, or shoving versus standard out of position free bet. So obviously that's versus standard out of position free bet. It's someone who's free betting correctly. So if someone's free betting tighter, free betting more, obviously the options are going to vary as to what you want to be doing. EV of our top pair hands out of position on the turn on 3 same suit cards without the suit is very, very, very low. Probably more folding versus tight players / under bluff players. Under the gun versus big blinds, Jack 9, deuce deuce, heart spade. Yeah, so basically when we've got like these top pair holdings, there's say 3 hearts on the board and we don't have a heart, the EV was only 1.79. I can't remember what it was when we had the heart, but obviously comparison it was a lot higher. So versus these type players which are under bluffing and so on, I think we make a case for folding these marginally low EV calls plus EV calls. Bluffing. So bluffing's been like a big thing for me. It's something which like I've been trying to do more of, but often found that I'm either like running into the nuts or I'm just not getting enough folds. So important notes about bluffing. Unblock worse hands that can fold, not just blocking like their good hands. So it's important that we actually unblock that folding range as well. Think about what hands we have in our range and how they block the folding range, but also the calling range. Observe how strong your value hand is by the river. So like this was like a situation where I had an overpair on the board, but then by the river, it was obviously like not doing very well. Queen queen on 10 9 8 7 king heart spade diamond. And actually the solver recommended a lot of bluffing, so I think a lot of people would look at this and be like, oh well, I might have showdown and check back. But I suppose there's on this sort of board there's so much out there like flushes, 2 pairs, blah 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 blah. And whereas bluffing with his hand, we might actually get some like 2 pairs, sets, etc. to fold versus the right player. So like we need to really consider whether our hand really does have showdown at this point. And to some people it might feel kind of strange, but we definitely need to be considering some of these hands as bluffs, especially a hand like queen queen, because obviously we're blocking like queen jack and so on, and with the heart you're blocking the flush draws. So it does actually make a lot of sense when you see it on the solver. Shoving or bluffing rivers with hands that unblock the most obvious trash hands and draws is normally optimal strategy. Ace 5 diamond diamond on Jack 7 3 10 8 diamond heart heart diamond club. Unblocking hearts and king queen etc. Shoving bluffing rivers that unblock the most obvious trash hands. So yeah, so it's like like the most obvious busted draws. So like on this extra obviously hands like king queen and so on, like they are, and like busted flush draws, they're like the most obvious trash hands here. So we need to make sure like optimal strategies normally unblocking them hands, and so on. Think how your bluffing hand connects with their calling range. Ace 5 hearts on Jack 3 7 2, Jack 7 3 10 8. May block hearts, but also blocks Ace Jack of hearts, because obviously we have the Ace of hearts, so they can't have the Ace Jack of hearts. Jack of diamonds is on the board, which leaves only Jack of clubs and Jack of spades, which is one of the Ace Jack combos, whereas Ace 5 diamonds unblocks Ace Jack hearts. Yeah, like with Ace 5 heart, we've busted our draw, but also Ace 5 blocks some of their calling hands here, like Ace Jack of hearts, because I can't have Ace Jack of hearts because we have the hearts and so on. Bluff returns. Shove high equity hands on turn on boards we hit more often. I believe this is a situation where I think someone out of position opened, we flat, and then come the turn, we gained a diamond, and rather than calling, there was more. Oh, it was a 4-bet flat. Okay, 4-bet flat was it? Might have been a 3-bet flat. I can't remember now. But yeah, so on the turn, oh, was it out of position? I haven't put it, so it's hard to say. But yeah, versus a board that we hit more often than the opponent, it preferred going all in on the turn with our equity rather than just calling. I think we was actually in position. Yeah, we was definitely in position. Yeah. Oh yeah, I put IP at the end. Yeah, in position. So even though we're in position, calling wasn't optimal. It was actually preferring a shove here. Obviously, if it was more of a board which they hit, then it was probably more likely going to be a call, or maybe even a fold. I'm not sure, but definitely raising on more on these boards. Out of position fold a lot more stricter than you realise. Out of position both pre and post. So when you're out of position, folding's a lot stricter. Tends to lean more to raising with top pair plus backdoor nut flush when out of position. So like if you have, let's say there's 2 clubs and on the board and you've got a jack in your hand, but you've also got the ace of clubs in your hand, when you're out of position, it prefers raising, whereas in position, it often prefers calling. Bluff catching, almost pure calling our top marginal type hands, etc. when blocking nutty draws when in position. So that's like I just said. So like if we've got like the ace of clubs in that scenario and there's clubs on the board, then we're just calling rather than raising. Pre-flop, this was kind of a note for me. Ace king off, more shoving versus 3-bets when out of position, because I was doing a lot of either flatting and 4-betting, but actually it doesn't really like much 4-betting. It's either like flat or go all in. I don't think it really flats out of position, but in position it can flat and has same EV. But it actually prefers just going all in these scenarios. So I'd probably try avoid doing this unless you're playing against opponents which are 3-betting correctly. Hero calls, stop making hero calls, not bad. Make sure to unblock potential barrels with flush draws, etc., as well as unblocking other bluffs. Yeah, so like let's say the board's a rainbow on the flop, and then a turn comes a spade, add another spade onto the board, and then they barrel. We need to make sure like we're unblocking them spades on like these dry boards, so that we can say, oh, there could be barreling spades here and so forth. Think what other hands we have in our range that we can call, which are better first. So sometimes we get scenarios where we feel like we can call, like make a hero call, but then even if you feel like your hand is a candidate, think about what other hands you get there, which might be better to call with, like such as like unblocking more hands or blocking more value or so on. And if you've got hands in your range which are probably a lot better, then you should probably be folding that hand and wait until you get into a similar scenario with some of your better hands. Learn to let go more, so more so out of position. Yeah, maybe considering tightening up 4-bets at position for versus larger 3-bet sizes. I think this is more aimed at just the stakes I'm playing. So this is kind of like a me note. D-bets in 3-bet, 4-bet pots tend to use 15 to 25% size on boards we hit quite well. Leans more towards 40 to 75% on lower boards which don't make straights, etc. So like things like 6 high, 7 high. Stop being a pussy or getting cocky with your value hands on flop with c-bet. So I was basically not c-betting enough. Need to start c-betting more. Less value, more checking on straight boards. Even more checking on straight plus flush draw boards. Smaller bets if betting, 25 to 30%, etc. So if it's let's say I don't know 10, 9, 7. It prefers a lot more check-in with like your aces. If it was like 10, 9, 7 with 2 hearts, it's like even more check-in. So on these wet textures, you kind of got to be careful with your overpairs. They're not really boards that we want to see like check raises and stuff on. But if you do decide betting is an option, we need to be betting sort of small, right? 25, 30%, 25 to 35%. And that about sums up the notes that we've got so far. Sorry, I need to cough. Right. Yeah. And obviously we'll add to them as we go today. I'm hoping it's. I don't know why it says around 21 minutes. I have been through some of these hands already, but obviously from a viewer point of view, it'd be nice to just show them anyway. There might be the odd one which is new because I've just, pardon me, I've just uploaded some hands. I'm hoping this method should be a little bit better than pulling it up on DT4. So we're in the cutoff. Hijack opens. We have tens. We raise, which is what it prefers. Although call-in is similar, like basically the same EV. We do raise, fold, fold, fold. They call. What comes? I think I put this one in Discord actually. It was a really interesting hand. They check. It prefers like a 25% or so C bet, which is more or less what we did. They call. They check. Then in this scenario, it prefers smaller bet again, like 33%. We did slightly higher, but it's about 40% or so. Then we get raised. It just likes call here. Turns a queen, and then they go all in. This was like a really interesting hand because obviously our hand's really strong, but like when they shove here, like it just feels like so underbluffed. And I'll show you what it actually wanted to do. So on the river, with our hand, what combo did we have? 10 of hearts, 10 of diamonds. With 10 of hearts, 10 of diamonds, it does like a pure call. But one thing I noticed was that there's one combo there, 10 of spades, 10 of hearts, which is like 70 difference in EV. And even though obviously majority of the time it's just calling or whatever and it's folding some other combos, I was just really curious as to why it was doing it. And I actually was like, it took me ages to work it out, but I eventually worked out what it is. 10 of spades and 10 of hearts specifically blocks the 10 jack combo. So they can't have 10 jack with this combo. Whereas if they have 10 of spades, if we have 10 of spades, 10 of diamonds, they can still have jack of hearts and 10 jack of hearts. So we're kind of condensing that value range. But with 10 of spades and 10 of hearts specifically, they can't have 10 jack. Like it's not possible. And also, when you go into this is what the hijack should be going all in with. Obviously 10 tens they can't have. And then King 10 suited is one of their bluffs here. And obviously we're heavily blocking King 10 suited. And other than that, you've got a very small amount of Ace Queen suited, which I'd say is probably a bluff at this point. And that's it. Everything else is more or less value. I mean, Jack 9 suited is obviously considered. I'd probably say that's more of a bluff at this point. Yeah, so you got the King 10 suited and Jack 9 suited would be the bluffs. And then like everything else is more or less hands that we lose to. Small amount of Ace Queen suited. But let's be honest, like there's not going to be a lot of people bluffing this board either. So I think in reality, I think you're just always going to be behind here. So even though the solver actually, says like it's a pure call, I would suggest that this could be a fold versus someone not capable of bluffing. Because I just feel like this is a board which is going to get underbluffed a lot. Like I think there's so many players out there which like with their trips, with their straights and so on, they're just going to check them back for showdown value. There's a lot of players which are not turning these hands into bluffs. You know, like Jack 9 suited. Like I just don't think enough people do that. Like I think they will just check them back and hope they're good, even if they don't like it. So in from a solver perspective, like it likes a call, and then there's that one combo where the EV is just like extremely low. Um, but in reality, I would suggest that this might actually just be a fold because like we're just never up against worse. Like I think when I called, I thought, well, it could maybe be value betting a jack or whatever, but that in reality, they're probably not right. And if they were, they probably wouldn't shove. Like what they're going to try to get value from with a jack here, probably nothing, right? So in reality, this might actually just be a fold. In theory, it's obviously a call. But versus opponents that just don't bluff enough, like this is, it would have to be a really good player for them to have a bluff here, in my opinion. So this is like the key with a theory, is like we take on board what the theory wants to do, but then we have to adjust based on the player we're against. And if we're playing someone that is playing GTO, like good GTO, then yeah, it's probably a call. If you're playing someone that has never even fucking looked at a solver in their life, etc., or they're just going all in with only 2 cards, and yeah, if they're going all in with only 2 cards, then yeah, you can probably call. But if it's just someone that's never looked at a solver and is just probably only ever value betting, then you probably can actually fold this. And I know it hurts, but like when you think about it, what can they shove here? And as we've seen, there is nothing. There is nothing they can shove that we beat. I just thought that was a really interesting hand, actually. Obviously, I called it down, and I lost to quads. But yeah, it's very easy to be like, oh, it's just a caller, but in theory, it's a caller. In theory, it is a caller, but in reality, is it really? I don't think it is. In reality, like I think this spot is so underbluffed that in reality, I think this would be a good fold, in my opinion. In theory, obviously, it's just a call. Any questions on that hand? Feel like I've been streaming 35 minutes already. Yeah, don't be shy, guys. Any questions, just let me know, because we can move on or whatever. Like, obviously these study sessions just help me, but I also want to like help other guys out as well. So, got any questions on that hand? Just give me a shout out, and I'll answer them. If not, we'll move on. Yeah, I remember this. I think this is just like a meh. So I free bet jacks in the big blind versus small blind. Guy raised me. As you can see, the EV is actually the same with calling versus going all in. I did opt to go all in because I felt like jacks needed a bit more protection, and I got it in against kings. I think the only note to take here is again, like when we're playing like 5 and out, which is where we're at the minute. How many players are actually going to be free betting light here, 4 betting light here? So you can, like, it's not a fold. It's definitely not a fold, but I'm not sure whether I think I prefer maybe calling. I think at these stakes when you go all in here with jacks, I just think whenever you get called, it's like at best ace king at best. I don't think people are like calling down here with like 10s and 9s and 8s, and if there is, it's not that it's only a small amount of the pool. It's not, it's not the whole pool. I think versus the pool, I think calling might be better here, and then just overfold on bad flops. Obviously in theory, like all in's fine. But obviously it's just really important that we're like adjusting for who we're playing against. That's one thing I can't emphasize enough. Like the amount of people I speak to about theory, and like they speak about it like it's a black and white scenario. It's a yes and no. It's something you have to do. The best thing to look at like the best way, in my opinion, to look at theory is to see it as like a guide. Like I use it as a way to understand what other players are doing, and then I can adjust accordingly. And And then obviously if we're up against people that just don't bet enough, don't bluff enough, don't fold enough, so on, so on, so on, then obviously we change our strategy. But the theory is there to tell you what to do versus somebody playing theory. And I can tell you now, there's probably not one person in this world that is playing perfect theory. Remember that. So yeah, this is just a meh, whatever then. I can't check these two because I'm multi-way. That's the only thing, like, when hands are multi-way, you can't run them against solver. Sometimes I get in these little multi-way spots. It might have only been multi-way on the flop, but then, like, someone's folding on the flop and then it's heads up, but because it's gone multi-way, the solver doesn't like it. See if I can... It won't even load it up. Loading up. Loads that one up. Maybe this is one of the hands it's still analysing. Yeah, so this was a spot which I had, which I absolutely fucking hated, and it's one I explained in the notes. So we free bet obviously ace king, they call, comes the dream board basically. We see bet almost exactly right. Then he just does this crazy raise, and I'm like, wow, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? Obviously, solver here doesn't mind calling or going all in, but like it just feels so dirty, doesn't it? Like it just feels disgusting. And I was like, oh my god, just this is going to be value. Like, do they raise this size with their flush draws and stuff? I don't think they do. And these are sort of spots which I sometimes kind of struggle with. I feel like when I've only invested like a small amount here, like what have I invested, say 12 blinds or something, I feel like I can just fold here because I feel like this isn't profitable enough, which we've kind of got to forget about the face value of our hand. And remember that we're trying to look for profitable spots. And versus, obviously, if someone's doing this commonly, then yeah, it's profitable. But versus people which are playing like sort of tight passive, this probably isn't as profitable as it should be. Because they're probably playing their flush draws passively, their straight draws passively, and so on. Other than maybe like, if they'd fight here with ace king of diamonds, they might, decide to play it aggressively. And I did obviously call it down and ended up being a set. Which I know it's probably not going to be set all the time, but then it got me thinking. When you actually look at it, when you actually look at the spot itself, this is what I was explaining, like when we just reviewed some of the notes. Where is it? Buttons, obviously we see bet here, cut off raises, but it doesn't. How can we change this so that we can if we change it, so let's just change it so that, like, I don't know, let's just change it so that they go all in, because I don't think the solver's going to like it else. Because when they raise that size, it's like they're saying that I'm going all in anyway. Obviously, the solver does like calling basically, and there's like a sliver. There's like a very sliver of folding, like next to nothing. But EV wise, it's exactly the same across the board. But then when you look at hands like King 10 suited, King Jack suited, King Queen suited, King 9 suited, King 8 suited, you get the picture. Like all of these hands here are actually the same EV, like 13.7 EV plus EV, as Ace King off 13.7. So even though it prefers more of a call with Ace King than King Queen suited, King Jack suited, blah 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 blah. Even hands like Queen Jack of Diamonds is same EV, exactly same EV. Obviously, these hands have got outs against like sets and stuff. So if you can eliminate players doing this with the draws, which I feel like when they raise these sizes, I don't think they're doing it with draws. I think they're just doing it with value. I think they either raise smaller or play passively with the draws, and then they start raising once they hit it. I feel like it makes Ace King off less desirable, and actually makes King Queen suited and all these suited kings. It makes them a lot more desirable, in my opinion. But EV wise, across the board, it's exactly the same. But the only difference is Ace King off versus someone that's playing their hands aggressively and correctly. Yeah, it probably is one of the best candidates to call with. But versus somebody that's just not raising them draws and so on, then I actually kind of feel like these other hands are more desirable, because I think the case of like blocking the draws and so on is kind of irrelevant then. I think the blocker situation is kind of irrelevant against that sort of player, because they're not raising the diamonds anyway. They're just raising pocket fives, pocket eights, and so on. Obviously, that comes down to you understanding who the player you're against. If you feel like your player can do this with King Queen suited, King 10 suited, and so on, then yeah, fair enough. But if you think they're just doing it with like that, like Ace King of diamonds and pocket eights, pocket fives, so on, then you can make a case for just calling, maybe even folding Ace King off and then calling with these hands. But that's like an exploit play. So take what I say kind of a pinch of salt. Just bear in mind what the theory is, and then it's down to you to adjust versus your player. But again, I thought that was a really interesting spot, because I'm probably never folded normally, but after seeing this, kind of makes me want to like fold more, just look for better spots, and versus this sort of player. And if I am going to call, maybe I actually just call more with these sort of hands. Any questions, guys? I try ask questions every time we go through a hand. Wait 30 seconds or so, or 10 seconds, just in case someone's got a question. Right, so in this scenario, sorry, one sec, which one? This hand here. So we lost almost a full stack on this hand. It's saying we did lose some EV as well. So we've got King Queen suited in cut off, an optimal raise. Comes King Queen 7. Oh yeah, I remember this hand. So I think he just led out on me, like donked out on me. And then I was kind of like, well, this guy's obviously an idiot. So I was like, oh, I'm going to raise. Unblocking all the club draws. What does it actually like a raise here? No, it does actually prefer a call, but the EV's marginal different between raising and calling. So I did raise. He called. And then he dunked out again. Again, the solver does just prefer a call. I did, however, raise, but again, it's only a slight difference in EV. I just thought, what the fuck's this guy doing? And then he checks. And then I think I decided to bet small, because I thought, like, if he's got like a busted flush draw, I kind of want him to just like go over the top. So I ended up betting like a real small bet. I mean, what's the solver like to do? Solver does actually like to just check back here. Although, again, betting is still plus EV on the smaller side. You lose a bit more EV when you start betting bigger. So I don't think I played it terribly. But then he does this weird raise. Obviously, I just call it off as the solver would. And he did actually have sevens. I don't really know what to make of this hand, because like it's obviously just like a recreational going stupid, because they've not even got max value here. You know, they could have done a lot more here to get max value. I mean, as played, I should have just been calling it down, but I just felt like felt like calling here would just be. I felt like just calling here would be a bit like meh when you're unblocking all these club draws and stuff and straight draws like 10 jack, ace 10, ace jack, club draws, etc. Draws. Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to flat some suited kings here and stuff as well. But then again, I suppose the suited kings he had would be like king of diamonds, so on. King of spades. King of spades wouldn't love it, would they? King of diamonds would continue for sure. So this is the scenario. So we raise, they call them small blinds. Flop, and then they lead. Is there actually a leading strategy? Yeah. I just want to make sure, like it likes checking most of the time, but there is some lead in here. Obviously, I opted to raise. King queen suited. Likes raising with kings, obviously, but majority of the time it just likes calling with range here. Other than like our absolute best hands like 7-7 king king. Queen queen, yeah. So our absolute best and like our best draws, I guess. So like yeah, jack 10 of diamonds, jack 10 of clubs. Okay, and it likes mixing in some 10-7, jack 7. 10-7, jack 7 to sort of balance it out, I guess. Yeah, because like 10-7 of diamonds has got obviously like we're unblocking flush draws and like ace jack. Yeah, but then again you're blocking like 10 jack as well, aren't you? He likes to raise here with jack 7 of hearts. Yeah, obviously, so like it's raising our absolute best hands and combining them with like some absolute like hands with backdoor equity basically, and then calling everything else. I'm just curious as to why this hand in particular has got a lot more raising than the other hands. So I wouldn't say it's a lot more, but like, obviously, yeah, I imagine like having a pair of sevens here and then just calling down isn't great, is it? Like most of the time, just going to end up folding the turn unless you catch a 7 or catch an ace and so on. But it prefers raising, like say, a7 suited with about the clubs and diamonds. I must have something to do with obviously the hands that they've got. Like if we were raising like jack 7 here, 10-7 here. So let's say we raise to, let's just say 12. Like what? How are they supposed to play back here? So there's the hands that they call with. So hands like 10-7 and jack 7, blocking what jack 10 suited, ace jack off, king jack off, 7 suited. Yeah, so I suppose if you were raising say 10-7, you're blocking like 10-9 suited, jack 10 suited, Sevens. Yes, yeah, sevens. I won't say it's like a whole bunch, so I suppose ace 10 suited is quite a big part of their calling range as well. But then what if we was to say raise 10-7 suited, they call. Yeah, we'll just leave their lead. What are we supposed to do here then with 10-7 suited? Open my eyes. Yeah, so even though it's like majority of fold, it is there is some raising there still, even though it's if you were gonna raise this though, you'd have to like raise like massive as a bluff. Let's pretend that we did that. We're fucking bluffing our ass off with 10-7. I don't see any ads. Oh, good. God. It's because I started the stream and I forgot to turn them off, so I turned them off as I started the stream. So I just wanted to make sure it worked correctly. That was all. Hope you're good, Fancy. Good to see you, mate. Shaved my head. Look, I finally did it. Finally did it. Yeah. So if we were like bluffing our ass off here with 10-7 suited, like what would they continue with here? So like they can't well, they're less likely to have sevens, 10-9 suited, jack 10 suited, queen 10 suited, ace 10 suited, ace jack suited. Okay. Yeah, so if we're bluffing over like 10-7, we're actually blocking quite a lot of their calling range here, other than obviously like king queen, 9-8 suited. But actually, yeah, so the 10-7 candidate blocks quite a lot of their continue. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, yeah. And that's probably why it does similar stuff with Jack 7 as well, because obviously Jack does block like Jack 10 suited, King Jack suited, King 10 suited. And I suppose just having a Jack stops them from having like Queen Jack suited, Jack suited, yeah. But 10-7 suited is definitely like the preference to be bluffing with here. Definitely like that. I definitely don't do enough of that stuff where it's like bottom pair plus, you know, just turning it into a bluff when we're blocking some of these new range. I think it probably prefers it more when we're in position, I guess. Yeah, definitely interesting to that. 10-7 suited, Queen 8 suit. Oh, actually, Queen 8. Oh yeah, because I suppose it's one of them high equity hands again. So rather than calling it down, it likes going all in. Hey, full step. Good morning. Welcome in, mate. Welcome in. Thanks for the follow yesterday. Good to see you. I weren't sure what time zone you were, so I weren't sure if I'd see you or not. I do apologise if you just joined and it's probably a bit like, oh, what's he on about? Because I'm halfway through a hand. But these sessions are basically just me sat fucking talking out loud and then waiting for hoping like someone's going to message and ask some questions. But welcome in, welcome in. Obviously, I'm not like the most popular streamer right now, but this is a consistent thing I'm going to be doing. But yeah, so it's definitely a note which I'm going to make actually. So bluffing turns. Where should I put it? Consider turning bottom pair into bluffs without backdoor equity when blocking their continue range. I suppose it's not just continue range, like that was blocking like draws to the nuts as well. Because like obviously if they'd hit ace jack there, if ace jack ace 10 has potential to hit a straight and so on, so we're actually blocking like some of the top part of their range as well. Yeah, so consider turning bottom pair into bluffs without backdoor equity when blocking their continue range / nutted top range, etc. Any questions on that hand, guys? Cats are asleep. No one's commented on my new cat tree house yet. Right, so we're on the button this hand. We are 183 blinds deep. The open, we get flat in the big blind. The solver here likes a slight overbet, actually. I need to actually work out why it prefers some of these overbets actually on the flops, because that is one thing I don't do enough, overbet flops, and I feel like when I do, I feel like I might be doing it in the wrong place. I suppose in this scenario, we're unblocking like the spade draws, top pair. Like, yeah, we're blocking like say queen 10, but they're in the blind. They're going to have loads of queen x here. They're going to have loads of spade draws. They're going to have loads of jack x here. King x, like, you know, like king jack and so on, or king 9. I don't think it has anything to do with backdoors, because overbets can't really continue to backdoors can't really continue to overbets. That would be I mean, in terms of bluffs, what, like, yeah, this is our value hand, but like what bluffs would we have here? I mean, we're on the button, we're going to have fucking loads of bluffs here, so maybe it prefers these overbets in scenarios where like the check's just really wet, but we're still unblocking a lot of hands that they can continue with. And we can also represent a lot of bluffs ourselves. Yes. We didn't overbet. We just bet like 25%, 33%. They do, however, raise. I think I re-raise this. It does yeah, the solver does re-raise, but I just re-raise bigger than it. Oh no, I re-raise 18. Oh, okay, so because the solver doesn't have my exact amount, it just thinks I raised 24. But so it likes raising like 3 times here. I raised slightly more. And then they called. Then they lead. And then it just prefers a call. I did. Bet again. And I probably just... Oh, it actually likes an all-in here, interestingly. I just called. They did actually have King Jack. I find it curious that it likes an all-in here, actually. I suppose it's possible, like, when they use this sizing, there can be value betting some 2 pairs here. Gonna have some bluffs and so on. Maybe even... So, I mean, yeah, this will work if... And I suppose, yeah, we can rep spade draws and stuff like that as well. That just kind of makes sense. Obviously, in this situation, we lost. But then you could argue that we let them in with King Jack here because the solver prefers us to do an overbet here. 6.9 into 5.2. Very slight overbet. If we had done that, I'd imagine King Jack without a spade or a heart would not be in the pot. So, yeah, don't get me wrong. It was one of the worst turn we could have seen. I don't think it's awful using that size, but obviously in this scenario, we kind of let them get there. Like this hand would probably still continue to an overbet anyway, I suppose, with the backdoor spades. I'd find it hard to believe that this hand wouldn't continue on the flop. But it's definitely something I need to consider looking more for, is these overbets on the flop, because it's definitely something I'm not doing enough of. I do overbet turns and rivers. Even then, I feel like I don't do it enough. And I think sometimes I'm afraid to, because I feel like some people just overfold in some of them spots. You could also say they were never going anywhere, even with an overbet. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they had like King of Diamonds and Jack of Clubs, then they'd probably just fold. But yeah, with a slight overbet, I suppose they do just continue here. So yeah, maybe this is kind of unavoidable. I mean, well, the only turns we're really worried about is like an ace and a nine, really. Anyway, yeah, when we're against the blinds, we're not overly concerned about the flush draws as such, because obviously the big blind's going to be super wide anyway. My only issue with the overbet there is it does kind of condense their range a little bit when you do overbet. So, I mean, we'll probably have to find more folds on later streets. Yeah, that is. I'll tell you what, that is a note we're definitely going to make with flops. You'd probably like invest in Word or something. Flops. Look for more overbets on wet textures. I think that's probably a fair note. So, flops, look for more overbets on wet textures when we can have a wide range and unblocking continue range. That's what I imagine. I would imagine that's the reason for the overbet, because we can obviously still represent a lot of worse hands ourselves, like bluffs, semi bluffs. But obviously, then we balancing it with our value hands. But if we look at that spot in particular and see what else we're supposed to be overbetting there on the flop. So flop comes and we bet here. So this column represents what we should be doing here on the flop. And this is the overbet column. So this is all the stuff that it expects us to be overbetting for balance on this flop. Obviously, there's quite a lot of stuff here. So yeah, this is definitely what it is. So when we're overbetting there, we need to be making sure that we're also overbetting with not just our value. We maybe don't need to go as extreme as some of these when we're playing like 5 and L and stuff, but we don't need to be worried about being perfectly balanced. But take note of the well, let's say I'll just apply a filter. So if I've put in the trash filter and the weak hand filter. So all these sections here, this is all the weak hands and trash hands in our range on the flop. So these larger boxes are obviously the trash hands, which it wants us to overbet here. So it wants us to overbet here with like king nine off. Also, I don't think it's, yeah, more so the one with the king of spades, and that's obviously because blocking spades here. Ace five off again with the spades really heavily with the ace of spade and the five of hearts, because obviously the five of hearts is blocking backdoor hearts, and it's also blocking like say 4-5 and so on, 5-7 and so on. Same with ace four. So we're blending in our pocket tens and pocket queens and aces and kings with the overbets, but also chucking in some of these king nine off. Ace deuce suited, because obviously we have the backdoor hearts, we've got the overcard to the board. And obviously the big blind range is going to be super wide anyway. And they might even with, and I mean, to be fair, with ace deuce suited, and I think this is why it prioritizes it more with the lower aces, because you can get a better ace to fold by overbetting here. So if they've got a hand like ace 7 with no connecting cards, or maybe they've got a heart or something, you know, they'll probably just fold to overbet. So you've actually got a better hand to fold. Whereas once these ace highs start getting a little bit higher, if the frequency gets a lot lower, like ace 7 here, it doesn't like it as much as it does with ace deuce suited. So that's probably a valid point. It likes more betting with our weaker aces than it does with our stronger aces. Yeah, it's quite interesting actually. Well, I tend to just try to take note of the more high frequency ones. And rather than trying to remember every single one, just understand the concept. Understand the concept, and then that will spread into the rest of your game, not this particular hand. I need that note too, yeah. Yeah. That's why, yeah. And then the notes are always there to refresh ourselves. 9-8 off is one as well. 9-8 off. Relatively even with all the different combos. What is the number in the bottom right corner of each combo box? Oh, that is EV. So I've got it set to EV. So the 3.9 here, that's our EV. And the on the left, bet 6.9, that's blinds. So bet 6.9 blinds. And this number here is our EV. I can change it, but I quite like it with EV on. Whereas if I switch to strategy, this basically, now I've switched to strategy, the 41.2 is basically like the percent of time that we're doing it, because sometimes we don't get here with them hands and so on. But I tend to just leave it on EV because the size of the box kind of represents how much we're doing it anyway, so we don't really need the strategy box on, if that makes sense. Because that red box, the size of it represents how much we're doing it. So if it's like a small amount, then even though because it doesn't say check call or anything, it just says bet. What it is it's because we don't always get here with 9-8 off, because sometimes we fold it pre and so on and so on. But when we do get here with 9-8 off, it wants to bet 6.9 every single time when we do get here, but we're not always going to get here. Yeah. Whereas a hand like ace 4 of hearts, we're probably going to open on the button a hell of a lot more than we would 8-9 off, which is why that red box for ace 4 spades, ace 4 hearts is a lot bigger, because we're probably going to get here a lot of the time with ace 4 off. Whereas not so much with 8-9 off. Yeah, it likes so the ace of spades and the 4 hearts, it likes betting here at high frequency. Whereas not so much with ace of clubs, 4 of diamonds, because it hasn't really got any blocker effect or anything like that. So when we get here with ace of clubs, 4 of diamonds, it doesn't really like betting. Whereas ace of spades, 4 hearts, it loves it because of the blocker values. And other times it's probably going to want to check lock. See the difference? So most of the time the green represents checking, and then the red represents betting 6.9. I can just turn these filters off altogether, and that might help a little bit. I'm not always the best at explaining, so if anyone feels like they a better explanation, please feel free. Yeah, so then if we look at ace deuce suited again, it's just all the red represents our bets and all ins basically, and all them numbers on the right represents the EV for each one. And as you can see, there's not really a huge difference in anything, so that means that all the options are pretty viable in terms of EV. It prefers betting, but all options are viable. Yeah, no, I get it. Thank you. Nice one. Try out where I can. Yeah, so Yeah, so it definitely seems to be this thing where like the solver only raises either its very best hands or its very worst hands, and then like call in the in betweens, basically. Yeah, it definitely seems to be like a thing. Yeah, that's definitely something I need to do more of. Overbetting on the flop. I just feel like people are too scared about it. Like I feel like when you overbet, I just think everyone just folds. But maybe that's just because they're calling so wide. Maybe. I'll bear that in mind going forward today. Um, Non-existing GTO spot, so this is probably multi-way or something. So it's probably not going to let us look at it. So, but we'll try. So undergun opens, hijack's called. There shouldn't really be any call in here in the hijack. So when I see this, I consider this like a recreational, and I free bet with the eights, which is theory wise, I'm pretty sure it's fine. But I only ever do it if I know I'm going to get some folds. If or unless I'm really deep or something. Otherwise, I don't do it. I just fold. But then we get this cold call here in the button. So again, if you've got some lunatic on your left and he's going to have position on you, do not do stuff like this. Obviously, I wasn't aware of this, or else I wouldn't have done it. And then it ends up going three ways. And this is why there's no solution for this, because it's gone three ways. So it can't give me a solution. The only thing we can do is break it down ourselves and try and make some sense of it. Bet they call. I think I remember actually cold call with Jack 7 of clubs, if I remember right. And then I bet small. Then he put in this really like daft raise, and I'm just like, I might as well call it off. And he cold called me with Jack 7 of clubs and got the flush. I should have known really, but it was just like, are you fucking joking? Like this guy was really bad. I think I just got to the table actually, and I suspected he was bad. I wasn't sure how bad they were. And when they raised, I thought, well, they might have this and they might have that, but probably should have just let it go. I do struggle to let go versus some of these players sometimes. But yeah, Jack 7 of clubs. Cold called Jack 7 of clubs. And got there. I'm back in a sec. I'm just going to go make a coffee quick. Won't be a minute. I was kind of wrong about them filter boxes as well. So like I had, when I was saying about the size of the box, that is right, but I had filters applied. So I had the filter just for the overbet, so it wasn't showing the checks, calls, and so on. But yeah, that still stands. So the color of the box if I didn't have any filters applied, represents how often we get there with that hand, basically. But in that particular scenario, we probably got there a lot more with 9-8 off. It was just because I had the overbet filter applied. Right. So that was the 8. A lot of these here, like, there's no solution because probably multi-way or whatever. I mean, it's a shame because I lost a lot of EV here apparently. So we'll look at it. King Queen suited in cut off, under gun opens, we re-raise, which is fine. It does. The solver does have some flat in the cut off and button, but I prefer to just take a 3-bet or fold strategy. Basically, very rare I call, and if I do, it's normally because I've got pocket fours and the guys never fold into a 3-bet, but I know no one's going to raise me on the left, you know. So then I'm like, I'll just fly it. But it's very rare I fly. I tend to just 3-bet or fold. Then he put in this like sketchy raise. I was a bit like, well, what the fuck? So obviously I called it, and this was like a hand which I got super cocky with. I shouldn't have done it. So like, I've only got myself to blame really. But I think it wasn't the first time that he put this weird little click into me, and I was like, what the fuck's this? And then he checks, as you'd expect. And obviously the solver prefers a check here, and I checked. Then he bets for like it's quite big for a board that he shouldn't really hit that much. And if he does, like the only thing I can think of is like if he had like say, I think Ace 5 of diamonds or would make a lot of sense here when he checks the flop. And I think so. Like I don't hate my play completely, but I think the mistake I made here was raising, because when I just raised here, it meant that he could then go over the top of me, and then I'd have to fold. But I mean, there's probably better hands here to bluff with than King Queen. I think I just let this guy get to me a little bit because I was a bit like, fuck me, you're joking. Like, how can he have a 9 here? Like, yeah, he could. But then again, I suppose he can check back some like overpairs and stuff on this flop, but then I don't think they raise the turn. That makes sense. Like they would never raise a turn, so I'm not really sure. I would just put this down to me playing a hand really badly, personally. Let's say I'm not doing this every time. It was just like this guy just seemed a bit like, what the fuck's this guy doing? uh, but like if we was to go all in here, yeah. So like with our particular hand, it was really bad. It does like some shove in here with King Queen suited, but only with the diamonds, which makes a lot of sense because obviously a lot of the time we are probably going to have a piece of this board. And obviously we have the back doors when we're wrong, like the diamonds. And let's, you know, if they made a real thing call, we could, the king and queen might be live. I wouldn't imagine it would be, but also I suppose having king queen diamonds actually blocks him having hands like queen 10 of diamonds, queen jack of diamonds. That makes sense. Yeah, so like if I am going to bluff here, I need to make sure that I'm bluffing with decent equity, not just fucking spewing out basically. Tens, yeah. I actually like to shove here with tens, does it? Mainly with the tens when we unblock the diamonds, I guess. Because then they can still have 10 of diamonds themselves. I don't think it's going to let me see the filters because it's not a GTO spot or whatever. Oh, yeah, that's it. I know it's not letting me. What's it turning into a bluff here then? Other than king queen suited, I suppose like it must be classing queens as like a ace five suited, ace four suited, ace three suited. I feel like it's actually shoving like kings and stuff here for. Like, surely it's not for value. Hard to believe. But yeah, that's just probably just a hand which I played really badly. But I just kind of wanted to see which candidates would be good for bluffs and so on. Like obviously, 8 7 6s that's value, but he likes a mix of calling and going all in. Calling is slightly plus EV. Tens obviously. If you're going to shove tens, you need to be unblocking diamonds again, yeah, because of the 10 of diamonds. Yeah, okay. And ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited, ace 3 suited with the diamonds. So basically, a lot of diamond bluffs here on the turn. And then mixing them in with our. Yeah. That's probably another thing I need to start doing more as well, actually. Shoving more turns with our good equity hands. Any questions, guys? Questions, questions, questions. Guess we're all happy. I'll just presume people are learning lots. Yeah, again, these are more. Anything with this symbol here means there's no solution for it, basically, like it doesn't exist in GTO. But we'll look at this, see where it ends up. So we had jacks in the hijack. We get free bet really small from the big blinds. It does prefer a call, although the EV is very similar between all in and raise and call. Bet 6.4, and it likes just pure fold here. And I suppose that's because I mean the big blind free bet is generally going to be very strong, but obviously they use a lot smaller sizing. And at 5NL, this is probably going to be a hell of a lot stronger. And jacks, like I know Queen Jack suited is a free bet candidate here, but with jacks we're blocking Queen Jack suited. I mean, if we pull up what people should be free betting in the big blind, which I can assure you is not happening. These are all the hands which should be getting free bet from the big blind. And as probably a lot of you know, like a lot of people don't do any of this stuff, and I don't either. Like it's, I mean, I do it because I'm playing 5NL at the minute, but yeah. So Queen Jack Jack, Queen Jack off, Queen Jack suited, Queen 10 suited. So it's like a mix. So like queen jack suited, yeah, you can call, but you can also raise. Same with like queen 10 suited, queen jack off, king jack off. So it's like it's kind of down to you as to when you think it's going to be ideal to do it. So if you're playing against someone that's probably not folding enough, then you probably just mostly want to be calling. At least when you're playing someone that's playing sort of like a semi-normal range. When you do get called with king jack off and they call, like they're going to have like pocket 10s, pocket 9s, pocket 8s, pocket 7s, you know. And so when you do hit a king or a jack or second pair, whatever, you're often doing fairly well. Basically, they do well against the calling range effectively. And then they're also easy to let go when you do get 4-bet. But yeah, so like all these hands here, ace 9 suited, ace 8 suited, ace 5 suited, they're all like quite big candidates for free betting from the big blind. But you know, just how pretty they are, people just end up calling them most of the time. The high frequency ones are obviously like our premium hands. Ace queen suited, yeah. Ace queen off some of the time. Queens, jacks. Tens, probably a split here. Although the EV is the same, just calling versus raising. I personally probably just raise flat in tens most of the time. Even jacks some of the times. Just depends how tight someone is. But yeah, queens and so on, I definitely do raise. King jack suited is quite high frequency free bet from the big blind. King 10 suited is actually really, really high frequency free bet from the big blind. But the EV is like marginal between both again. Quite low. Jack 10 suited, another high frequency free bet from the big blind versus under the gun. So I'm trying to remember like some of these high frequency ones and then maybe try and employ them into my game. Oh shit. I'm so shit with computers. Free betting from the big blinds. 10 suited. High frequency. What was the other? King 10 suited, quite high frequency, and Jack 10 suited. And we'll say ace 5 suited as well. And then like I can focus on adding them more into my free betting range. And then I'm probably not going to worry too much about the others so much at these stakes. But I'm going to bear it in mind, obviously. There's basically like it's a lot of hands which are either doing fairly well against a flat in range, like all the pairs and so on. Mixed in, I mean, these suited connectors are just a lot more calling, but they've got decent playability. So it's like hands which play well against a flat in range, but also have decent playability out of position post flop, which I'll put in my notes actually. So free betting from the big blinds. King 10 suited, ace 5 suited, and 10 jack suited, quite high frequency. And then free bet hands that play well versus calling range and play well out of position. So, you know, the connected suited hands tend to play quite well out of position. Yeah. Get rid of that sec. Yeah. And then in this scenario, he just likes to fold. I think when some of these situations, because we're obviously it's like top range against like good range, you know. So what, I'll pull that back up. This one. So yeah, you can call some of the time. It's like it's very close between calling and folding. But it prefers calling when we have that jack of clubs, basically. So when we haven't got the jack of clubs, it prefers just to fold, and when we've got the jack of clubs, it likes a call. But again, the EV between calling and folding is so small. Like the EV from calling with jack of clubs is 0.16, whereas folding is 0. But obviously, it changes a lot when it changes negative when we haven't got the club. So I guess that's probably why we had to fold, but we didn't have the jack of club. Yeah, so yeah, it makes sense, I guess. Yeah. Obviously, if it was like versus wider ranges, I'd imagine it'd probably just like a call, but versus ranges which are a lot narrower, I can get behind a fold here without the club. And Jack's obviously blocking some of these hands that they might free bet wide with. Because if we look here, so this was obviously this is their free bet scenario pre-flop. So Jack's blocks like Queen Jack suited, Jack 10 suited, obviously Jacks, Jack 7 suited. So yeah, it's just King Jack off, Ace Jack off. So having Jacks there blocks a lot of these wider hands, so it means we're more likely to be up against like these better hands. So what if we had nines or something? Oh no, it doesn't really change much. Right, so if we've got tens, it actually likes calling a hell of a lot more. But jacks, without the club, it likes folding. And I guess that is just because them jacks do, if somebody is free betting a little bit wider in the big blinds, them jacks are removing some of them weaker holdings. So we're up against a stronger range. Whereas tens, it likes a pure call. And with a 10 of spades, 10 of diamonds, it actually likes some. Must be shoving, is it? Yeah, shoving. Interesting. Oh, yeah, because obviously it's a set. What am I talking about? Fucking ignore me. Ignore me. Ignore me. Ignore me. Nines and eights, just pure fold. Sevens, yeah, obviously a set. Queen's a very small amount of even queen's a very small amount of folding without the queen of clubs. Just shows you like how much more disciplined you have to be sometimes at cash. I mean, obviously it's mostly calling, but ace queen off, yeah. Unless you got the club, then obviously it's a clear call. Anything without the club, it's a even with a gut shot, it's more or less a fold. Whereas me, I'm probably peeling. Like depending on the size, like if people use like a 20% sizing or something, like I'll probably just peel. I suppose like if they're using a smaller size in here, it probably would peel more. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah. So it's that's also something for people to note is something to note is when these bet sizes increase, how it likes folding more. So if they was to bet 3.3, like like I said, 25% with your gut shots and stuff, it does actually like still call it. And there is actually some raise in there as well. But obviously when they're betting, as they bet bigger, it actually increases the folds. Yeah, and then like some of the hands start come in. Because I guess because calling now isn't optimal, so it's either fold or bluff basically. Versus these larger bets, I tend to just fold because versus recreationals that bet big, they're normally not lying, you know. Tough spot here, pre and post, yeah, for sure. I mean, I try not to overthink it too much. I mean, if I'm flat in there, it's because I am basically set minding. But I kind of felt like just straight up folding jacks on the flop was bad. But as per solver, probably not. And bearing in mind the solver is versus a GTO player, so we should be folding even more when we're playing like 5 and L and so on. So it is actually more of a mistake than you realise. So even though the the solver finds some calls, versus players which just are not, which is most players are not free betting wide enough from the big blind, it is just a clear fold. So that's why you can't just look straight at the theory and be like, oh well, I can call some of the times. You really have to really think about like not just what the solver's telling us, but we've got to think about the player pool, who we're against, and so on. So actually, I would say it's actually a clear mistake. Falling here, like more than the solver represents. Obviously, versus a GTO opponent, and it's obviously very similar to what the solver thinks, but versus someone that's just not, finding any bluffs here, this is just a clear fold. Yeah, without the club, your call with the club makes sense, obviously. Yeah. Any questions on that hand, guys? Yeah, I just called it down. Look. That might be part of it as well. Like, look how short he was. He's really short. Look. So I probably just sort of stubbornly called him down because he's short, and he had ace king. But yeah, it's still like the EV between it is hardly anything. And yeah, obviously at this point he likes to call probably because we've got the jack of hearts. So we're blocking hearts, but obviously he's just value betting it. Like you got to remember as well when we're blocking some of these hands, like when we're blocking, like say the nuts, like we're blocking the nut, like we're blocking a flush. Always remember, can they be value betting worse hands though? Because then if that is the case, then your blocker probably doesn't really matter unless you're bluffing. That makes sense. But if they're only representing nutted hands, then it plays more of a role. When their range is a lot more narrow, then the blockers pay a lot more. But when they're would be value betting worse hands, then your blockers don't play as much of a role unless you're bluffing. Yeah. It's just another spot which is not got no solution. Yeah, so we'll just leave that one. We've got 10s here in the cutoff. Again, I free bet. I'm quite aggressive pre-flop. You see a call. Solver likes betting half pot here. I probably checked it now, me. Yeah. Like I say, the EV is still very similar with check-in, so it's not a disaster. But it does prefer betting half pot here most of the time. And it just likes calling here nearly all the time. But again, the EV difference is like very marginal. Do call, checks. And then, yes, I remember this one. So I decided to go for value here, which the solver does actually like. So, did I do it exact to... I did it exact to what the solver recommends as well, which is pretty cool. So they recommend betting 16.2, 100% of the time. and I bet 16.2. And he had jacks if I remember right. Yeah. But like this is stuff I never used to do. Like I would just be like, oh fuck him, what's going on? Oh, I'll get that hand back up. Yeah, so this is stuff that I never used to do. Like I always used to be like, I'll just check back here because I was either scared of getting raised or I wasn't trying to get for like thinner value or whatever. But when I bet here, I feel like I can just get called off by so much because obviously he's gonna have like some ace X here, probably some miss heart draws when he bets the turn. He's gonna have some worse pairs. And the only hand I was really worried about was like jacks or queens. Like I didn't think they flat aces and kings that much. So it was like queens and jacks, the only real hands I was worried about. Like all ace highs and everything, probably caller here. So I felt like it was a good bet, and then obviously he had jacks. Weird spot, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's good. Like, I mean, if we look at the so I'm trying to find more of these spots. You see, like getting that value on the river, and it's also good for like people that always say about their they can even call with ace high. Yeah, so they can literally call with anything because they might think I'm bluffing. You see, yeah, they could even call with ace high. Nothing really. Yeah, the queens and jacks is just like the only hand I was really worried about, and he did just happen to have jacks. Um, but like. Under the gun checks, we bet. What if I just say, oh, it's probably bet that. So he's supposed to call here with ace queen suited, king queen suited, ace king off. Nines, obviously. 9-8 suited. Basically, he should be calling here 60% of the time with his range. Ace 4 suited. Ace 8 suited. And then, yeah, obviously he's going to have some bluffs here as well. And some value. What do they like bluffing with here then? They must like... Is that bluff or value? That must be bluff, surely. But yeah, there's still supposed to be hands here. Like 60% of the time, there should be some calls here. Sixes, look, yeah. And then obviously there is jacks there, but it's jacks is literally like one of the jacks is like one of the worst hands I can see here. Kinda doesn't look right. Have I fucking has it been entered correctly? Yeah. Under the gun check, we bet the yeah, it's entered correctly. Obviously, like their range is quite narrow, but in terms of their range, there's still plenty of stuff that's supposed to be calling here. And I feel like people do just call their boards quite light. Even recreational players would call them quite light. So I think the bet's call. Solver likes it anyway. To be honest, I don't think it's much to debate. I think it's just like a bit of a call, really, in my opinion. But I think it's important that we're not just like always afraid of the nuts, as played. Um, I think it's a quite a cool hand. Any questions or notes about that hand, guys? Is it? I know you said yesterday. What do you like to be called, by the way? I was just calling you full step before. I don't know, Mississippi. What do you like to be called? And is like my explanation of the solver kind of helping you a little bit? I know you said it can be a bit overwhelming sometimes. It's not as it isn't as brutal as it kind of looks. Like once you get the hang of it, it's really not too bad. Once you understand like what you're looking at, basically. Are you able to recognize in game when a plate is both fall and raise, or are you able to recognize game a plate is both fall and raise or fall and fall? Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So let's see if I can find an example. Um, I don't know if there's going to be a good example on here, but they're like, this is that hand we just looked at, and so I've just done it as if we bet, and the under the gun has now got to make a decision. Obviously, they had jacks and they called it down. So, like, if you look at 6-6 here, these are all the hands that they could potentially have in their range. Just look at pre-flop King Jack bluffs. You can, you can me whatever. Real name is Seth, but most call me full. Um, okay, I think full step probably works for me because I'll forget your name. Yeah. So like, if you look at sixes, you'll see like, if you look at the colors, like the blue represents the fold, green represents call, and then like the red represents raising or going all in. And then obviously the numbers on the right represents the EV between each decision. So it's showing you like how much it likes to call, how much it likes to fold. So obviously its preference is calling, but there is an option there for raising and there is an option there for folding. But overall, it prefers calling. If that makes sense. Uh, just look, just look at pre-flop king jack bluff / calls. I'm not sure what you mean. I don't know what you mean. At pre-flop king pre-flop. Oh yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, so like this is probably a better example. Um, so like if like we got raised, we open under the gun, put off 3 bets, and we're got a decision to make. So like some of these hands, like ace nine suited, occasionally likes to call, but the blue represents a fold. So most of the time it likes to fold, but there is an option there to call. So both are okay, but it just prefers a fold. And this is why I have the EV up on the sides. So like even though in terms of color it prefers a fold, the EV difference between calling and folding is actually the same. So it prefers a fold, but EV wise, it's actually very similar. Whereas raising is less EV, so the option would be call or fold. That's how we just looked at. Some of these hands aren't massive now, so I'm going to look at the, like, in terms of big blinds, they're not massive, so I think I'm going to look at some of the EV loss. We've done that hand. This was a big EV loss. So we've got 5s under the gun. We open. Fine. We get 3-bet from the small blind. Call or fold, but it does prefer fold, but the EV is the same. I do call. The reason I just prefer calling is because, like, yeah, I know they don't play too well post-flop, but versus a lot of players, like, flopping a set at 5-0 is going to be, like, super profitable. So I tend to not give up my pairs too easily. And they bet. And it likes a call. Did I just fold? I'm guessing I did, yeah. Like, I understand why it wants to call. Obviously, we have the back doors and stuff here, and they should, in theory, have some bluffs. But I think their sizing on the flop here, I think in general, they shouldn't be using this half pot sizing. I think it should be a bit smaller, which is why I just opted just to go for the fold. But as per theory, you would probably want to be calling because you've got the back doors here. Like, you can hit a 5, you can hit a 4, like even a 6 is okay. Obviously, I did fold, which I don't think is the worst move, seeing as it's like probably one of the worst pairs we're going to have here. But obviously, it was just a really good flop for us in terms of like our pair itself. It's the best. It's the best. One of the best flops 5s can see. So yeah, like you can call, but it does prefer a fold with 5s pre-flop. And then they c-bet half pot here. Yeah, so as you can see here, they shouldn't really be betting half pot here. Like, it's like 2.4% at the time. Most of the time, it should be like this sort of sizing, like 25%. Which is why I was like, I'll just fold it, because a lot of people at these stakes, they play their hand strength. So I was just like, I'm just going to fold here. But it should be like a mix between 4.2 and 6.95, which I'd have definitely continued. But because he used the half pot sizing on an ace high dry board, I was a bit like, yeah, I think I just let this go. I think even if someone was bluffing here, they still use some of these smaller sizes. So when they start using like half pot and above, like, it's not even a thing. There shouldn't be any all in. There shouldn't be any, like, what's that, overbet? There shouldn't be any overbets. There shouldn't be any pot bets, or like 1.6%, and then 2.4% for half pot. So it should be like a lot of small bets here and a small amount of check-in. So when he bet half pot, that's why I was kind of like, yeah, this don't look too good, so I just folded. But as per theory, you should be calling. But I feel like when people start using sizes, they shouldn't be using on these textures. It's a candidate to fold in. Obviously, in theory, there's a small amount of bluffs here, which is why it likes a call. But I just find on these ace high textures at these low stakes, you won't find as many bluffs as you should. A lot of people tend to just kind of give up, thinking you've probably got the ace, and so on. But I don't hate either. I don't hate calling, don't hate folding, but just to the larger size, I think I prefer a fold. So that's like, I think that's a note to take forward, is like, take note of the bet sizes. Like, if people are using a lot bigger sizes than they should be, especially if you've got them marked as recreational, that probably gives you an idea as to what their hand strength is. So what do you guys think about that? Give me some input. Flag me off. Come on, give me some grief. Give me some feedback. Tell me how bad I am. Not much, really. Yeah, like I say, I think when they use a bigger size, and I think I just prefer folding at these stakes. I think we did that hand already. Don't think we did this one. Lost a fair bit of EV on this hand. Ace Queen suited on the big blind in the big blind versus a 3x open from under the gun. We are 176, well, 180 big blinds effective. All is okay, but it does prefer raise. I think it's because when people do these 3x opens under the gun and in hijack, I tend to feel like they're more likely to be recreational because you don't need to open 3x under the gun or hijack. Like I min open everything. Since it's rainbow more board equals more calls. Yeah, I see. Yeah, it was literally just based purely on the bet sizing. Like in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna peel this, but then when he used a half pot, I was a bit like, and like a pattern with solvers is normally when they're using like the bigger bet sizes, you tend to start heading towards more folds / more bluffs. Yeah, so versus 3x open, I'm always a bit hesitant because I always feel like versus undergun and hijack, like you don't need to bet free. Like you can still get everyone to fold round without opening 3x. Like I min open everything from under the gun and hijack, and I still get folds, like all the way round, even to the blinds. So when you do need to fold, you're kind of losing money because you know that's a blind which you could be saving by opening 2 or 2.2 or whatnot, and then open 2.4, 2.5 or whatnot from the other positions, and then 3 big blinds from the small blind. So I think I did call, although as we've seen today, Ace Queen suited is definitely a 3-bet candidate from the big blind. The EV is similar, but it does prefer 3-bet. I did call on this occasion, probably because of 3x open. But then you could also argue that versus a 3x open, you kind of want to 3-bet more because obviously there's more money in the pot, which you know is better than when you do get folds, you're getting 3 big blinds rather than 2 or 2.2 or whatnot. We check, they check. We do check. There's a like 70% or so, 65% bet on the turn. They do bet small. It likes just calling here, although there is. Well, that's interesting. It prefers calling, but raising is actually slightly more EV. Okay. Well, I did raise. I used like a smaller size in. That's not too bad actually. That's yeah, it's not too bad. Raise a call. I think I went for a bluff here, and then I think I got check raised. Yeah, so I did go for a bluff here because I think in my mind I was like, well, obviously I'm no good anymore. I think doing it with this particular combo is probably not like great. Well, I mean they can still have some hands here which continue like jacks with a diamond, tens with a diamond, eights with a diamond, so on. I suppose that's probably it. A king's probably obviously never folding. When they check the flop, I suppose they can have pocket kings. And then obviously I got raised, so I just snap folded. It's definitely not the best combo to do it with. We want to be unblocking these flush draws when we're trying to bluff here. It's probably I think that's why I use a smaller size because I wasn't trying to bluff like really strong hands. I was just trying to push out some cheap floats that might be in here, like the pairs with a diamond and so on. Obviously, it seems very apparent to me I'm probably dead here when I get raised. But yeah, I'm pretty confident. We'll look at it, but I'm pretty confident it's probably a really bad combo to be bluffing with here. So we'll bet. We'll just say 13. Ace Queen suited. What do we have? Ace Queen diamonds, didn't we? Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, so the ace queen is a candidate for bluffing, but mainly when we're ace queen of hearts is quite high EV to actually go all in here, which is interesting. Whereas ace queen of our specific combo, ace queen of diamonds, is checking. Yeah, like my combo in particular was bad. But with the other three combos, it is actually plus EV to bluff this. There's a lot of all in here actually. Like when we do bet, it's a lot of all in. Obviously, ace queen suited is like basically non-existent, so it's definitely not our best combo to be bluffing with here. It prefers. So that's the nuts, so that's not a bluff. 9-6 suited. Oh, it's gonna be fucking. I suppose when we flat, we can get here with 9-6 suited. That's the nuts. That's the nuts. That's the nuts. So there's actually not that many bluffs here. Not all in bluffs anyway. Yeah, there is some betting. Like a lot of these all in combos, they're mainly just value. Yeah, so these are our trash hands. Bluffing here with hands like 6-5 suited, 6-4 suited, 5-4 suited, 10 off, ace jack off, jack 10 off. Mainly these these low hands. Actually, yeah, I suppose. Oh yeah, of course it is. It's a trash hand by this point. Fascinating. So ace queen diamond diamonds is bad, but the other ace queen are good bluffs. Yeah, so I'd imagine it has something to do with unblocking the diamonds, because if they got here with a flush now, if they're at the river with a flush, say, they hate their life now. They hate their life now on a 7. So you want them to have a flush if you're going to bluff. So ace queen of diamonds is the worst combo to do it with, because under the gun, ace queen of diamonds is definitely, ace x of diamonds or queen x of diamonds is definitely hands which they're going to have under the gun. But when we have them, they can't have it. Like when we have ace of diamonds in particular, they can't have ace deuce of diamonds, ace 3 diamonds, ace 4 diamonds, so on. So we're removing a lot of the hands which can fold when we're trying to, we're up against more value than we are folds. Yeah, ace queen suited is basically not in your range, because it was quite high frequency free bet on the pre flop. Whereas like hands like ace 6 suited, ace 8 suited, queen 8 suited, 6-4 suited, 6-5 suited, bit more common. Yeah, and all suited queens. Yeah, so like you see how some of these are like basically non-existent. It's because they're not in our range that often. like ace queen suited, it's not always in our range here. Whereas a hand like ace 8 suited, ace 6 suited gets here quite a lot. Same with like ace 4 suited, ace 2 suited. They don't get here very often. That's why the colour is quite low. But I've got a filter on, so this just represents all our trash hands currently. Why didn't you bet the turn? I can't remember. Like, I was probably just wanting him to bet so I could raise, sort of thing. Obviously, Solver says I should have bet the turn there, and I think most of the time I probably do. But that's obviously why it's a mistake. Like, I think most of the time I do probably bet the turn, and that's obviously why I'm looking at it today, because obviously I made a mistake. But yeah, I should have bet the turn. I mean, he did raise the turn once he bet. Go back to turn. What is it? What do you want to see? So obviously I checked the turn. Then they put in a small bet, and then I raised the turn. But obviously, as played, we probably should have bet in here. Ace queen of diamonds, just pure bet. Look, yeah, pure bet. I like that's why. Obviously, that's why we're looking at the hand, because obviously I made a mistake. So it's just, yeah, when action on us, yeah, this is us. But yeah, obviously that's why we're looking at it, because obviously I've made a mistake. Hence why we look at it, and then it's just like a reminder to me and anyone who's likely to do a similar thing that it is a mistake. Like I say, majority of the time, I feel like I do bet this turn. As to why I didn't, I can't remember. But yeah, it's definitely should have been betting here. Other combos are check-in. Ace Queen Diamonds in particular is just basically pure betting. Needs to be like a mix of bets here, mainly between 6.9 and 1.8. So like a mix of small bets and over bets here. 4.1 here as well, which is like 80% or so. Yeah, lights medium bet, yeah. Yeah, slightly more, 4.1, yeah, 7.15. Very close in EV though. Yeah, so obviously we know this is a mistake. One thing obviously I just take from this is, betting them turns. And bearing in mind with some of these bluff candidates. What about our weakened flushes? So like Queen Jack suited. So yeah, it's Queen Jack suited, Queen 10 suited, Queen 9 suited, 8 suited. Or do you mean to like the extreme where we got like 6-5 suited? So the percent in the bottom left is how often you should be betting that amount, or the higher percent is the correct choice. In the percent in the bottom left is how much you should be betting. Oh, do you mean here? Do you mean up here? Like this here? This percent here? Yeah, so like because obviously it's combining the whole range. So like in our range, like it likes to check 66% of the range, and then 10% 6.9 and so on. And then if you click on it, it shows you which hands it prefers betting this size. So it prefers betting 6.9 with ace 4 suited, ace 5 suited, ace 6 suited, so on. Queen 10 off, queen jack off. And then like if we click on 4.1, these are the potential candidates for a 4.1 bet. Obviously, like some hands share like 2-3 options, so obviously the same hands do appear. But obviously, like it prefers a 4.1 with ace queen suited. And then if we click on 1.8, these are all the hands that it likes to making a small bet with. And then these are, if we get rid of that filter, and these are all the hands that it likes. These are the hands that it likes checking with. Yeah, you could literally spend hours on one hand, yeah. I just try to understand the key points, really. Yeah, so these are our flushes. Like it's betting a fair amount of our nut flushes. Is that what you wanted to look at, Fancy? I'm not like 100% clued up with this sometimes, so like if I'm in the wrong area, just say and I'll change it for you. And the strong bet more than the weak. In fact, does that change the actions if I... yeah, it does. It changes the actions, yeah. So with the flushes, it prefers the slight overbet. Yeah, basically, a lot of betting with our nuts, obviously, nut flushes. Is obviously what I should have done. Literally, I'd like the best candidate for it as well. One of the best candidates. Yeah, obviously, I made a mistake there on the turn, obviously. But like, that's why we review it, so I can make notes of it, and we all make notes. I'd say I definitely bet there a lot of the time on the turn. I've got no idea why, because I probably played a few thousand hands yesterday, so I can't remember them all. But there was probably some sort of cocky reason why I thought checking was good, which is obviously not. Yeah, and obviously, again, it comes back to them bluffing candidates, making sure that I'm unblocking them hands that can fold. Ace Queen was definitely... at the time, I knew it wasn't a good candidate. Big flush on turn equals bet, yeah. Yeah. Big hand bet, yeah. But then if we're overbetting there with like with our good flushes, and what else are we... Let's see what else like we want to be overbetting here with... Oh no, sorry, it's wrong one. The overbet here. So this is a mix of our good hands and our trash hands. So I'll just put on trash hands for now. Overbetting with hands like 5-4 suited, 6-4 suited, Queen 10 off, Queen Jack off. And 8 suited. I suppose probably the important thing with some of these is unblocking like the ace highs and the king highs, I guess. Uh, well, no, maybe not the king's highs, but the ace highs. Sorry. Like if we overbet, let's say we overbet here, and they're supposed to be folding here. There's a lot of ace highs, so like there's a big portion of ace high hands here. Straight draws, the balances out for the bluffs, yeah. Yeah, plus these low cards unblock so much stuff as well, don't they? Yeah, literally like they all them 5-6 suited and stuff is unblocking all these ace highs that can fold. Yeah, blocks some of these, but it's like a small part of their range. Why the queen? Well, the queen wasn't the most desired one. So if we go back to our action, our most desired trash hand bluff here. Well, I suppose it is a decent amount, isn't it? I'd say 5-4 suited is more of a bluff candidate here. Then it queen 10 off, queen jack off. So with say the 5-4 suited and hands like that, they unblock all of these ace highs, except obviously like a couple of these, which is like a smaller part of their range. So when we're trying to make hands fold, we need to make sure that we're unblocking the hands that can fold. So like obviously these ace queen suited, ace jack suited, etc., they make up quite a large part of their range. So it's important that we're unblocking these hands. So like obviously when I'm trying to bluff with ace queen, for example, like I'm blocking their folding range. So all this blue represents hands they should fold to an overbet on the turn. So if I'm trying to bluff with ace queen, I know I bet the river, not the turn, but all of these hands I'm blocking. So that means they only ever continue with a stronger range. That makes sense. So if you're blocking someone's folding range, it means that when they do continue, you're they're more likely to continue with a stronger range. Yeah, so if if you're trying to achieve a fold, you need to make sure that it's possible for them to have hands that they can fold, or else you'll only ever, you're probably getting, you'll get folds 20% of the time, but then the other 80% of the time, it's only ever going to be a hand that you smashed against, Whereas if you unblock some of these hands, it might be 50-50 or 60-40, Yeah, so like if you look here, they should be folding 60% of their hands here to an overbet on the flop, on the turn. So if we have ace queen, why the queen 10 off? Because I would say it's because we're still unblocking. We're still unblocking the. Obviously, these ace highs are like a large portion of their range. So we're still unblocking most of these. Like, yeah, we're blocking ace queen suited and ace queen off, but there is still some combos there they can have. There is still some ace queen combos they can have. There is still some ace queen off combos they can have. Yeah, we're blocking queen jack suited, but there is still some combos they can have. And then once you take away that, there is still all these other hands which can fold. But obviously, yeah, we're blocking 10-10, blocking 10-9 suited. But like Jack 10 suited, like yeah, we're blocking some of the Jack 10 suited combos, but depending on the combo we have, we might only be blocking one combo. But there's still two combos there that can fold and so on. So the most important card here, I would say, when you look at this, is having an ace. If you're holding an ace and trying to bluff, that's going to be a disaster because you're blocking probably a good let's say, I don't know, good 50% of their. Well, I'll tell you now, 30%. So if we're trying to bluff with an ace, if you look here, their folds consist 30% of ace high. So if we've got an ace ourselves, we're impacting 30% of their folding range. Yeah, because it makes up a big part of their makes a big part of their folding range. Why is this cash? Yeah, this is just a review from my Bankroll challenge session, mate. That's all. It's obviously this isn't this is just for anyone to come join and watch sort of thing. I haven't set up a proper Passion MTT study sessions yet because I'm still trying to get people to leave their schedules and stuff in Discord so that I can set them up correctly. The ones I'm scheduled these are just reviews of my Bankroll challenge. That's all. But obviously anyone's more than welcome. As for the study sessions I discussed with you, I haven't set them up yet. These are just part of my Bankroll challenge. That's all. I've only had a couple of returns in terms of schedules and time zones and stuff. But yeah, so everyone cool with that hand? You got any questions, full step? Anything else? I mean, I should have known this stuff from the previous session, because we had similar scenarios, and then I've just tried bluffing anyway. But yeah, ace high makes up a large portion of their range, so it's really important that we block their folding range. No probs. Anything to add, Fancy? I know you're fairly clued up with some of this stuff. Not really. I'd say I'm not. For anyone that ever comes in my sessions, I do not claim to be the best player. I do not claim to be the most experienced with GTO and all that stuff. I never have, never will. So there's things I don't know, there's things you know which I don't, and vice versa. And so if there's anything you feel like is valuable input, then please let me know. I'm so laid back and easygoing. I won't take offense or anything like that. I want these sessions to be as good as they can be, sort of thing. So. I think these were folds I made. So I'm going to leave them, but I know they weren't correct in theory, but it was just versus the players I was against. Just as you said, we need to unblock their folding range. Yeah. It's okay to just go onto live chat anyway. Oh, you mean in Discord? Discord live chat. And if you want. I think most people in here are in Discord anyway. If you want to go on live chat, you can do. I can just put it on my phone or whatever. Is that easier, guys, if we go on live chat in Discord, or? That is my intention at some point once I get the study sessions. When I actually create some actual study sessions where people bring hands and stuff, that will be my intention to get like Discord voice. But for these sessions, I don't really mind either. But if we think it's easier, we can jump in Discord voice. I'm just not sure how it'll interfere with my microphone. That's all. Got to go. Okay, mate. Well, thanks for popping in, mate. Good to see you again. I'll catch you soon. I got to run. All right, mate. No worries. Well, thanks for coming in, mate, and thanks again for the follow. I hope you learned a few things. I say I do this every session, so don't if you can't make a session, don't worry. There's always a few more hands the next day and so on. But yeah, cheers, guys. Take it easy. Learned a bunch. Good. Me too. I say I'm not no coach or anything. I'm like you guys. I'm just trying to learn. So we open here with jacks. We get free bet from the small blinds. As we discovered yesterday, the option between calling, raising, and going all in jacks is relatively the same, but it prefers calling in position. I think I just folded this. I mean, we had a similar scenario earlier with second pair, but it was versus a big blind free bet, and it did actually prefer a fold with jacks. So that's interesting to know. It's probably because it's cut off versus small blind. But when it was big blind versus under the gun, it did actually like fold him. I did obviously fold, and that classes that as a blunder. But yeah, under the gun versus big blind, it liked to fold. If there's anyone new, this is basically we're reviewing my Bankroll challenge session from the previous session. So at the start of every stream, I just review a few hands for a few hours with the community. It's something I do every session. Schedules on my about page, or if it's easier, just leave a follow if you don't mind, and you'll get a notification. Obviously, when I go live, I do stream like 5 or 6 days a week, mainly cash at the moment. So yeah, if cash is your thing, you're in the right place. I'm just here to try get better like everyone else, and hopefully make some of the community a bit better as well. Yeah, if you got any valid input, please feel free. I do appreciate questions and interactions. Sometimes there's stuff which I just don't know and not aware of. Yeah, feel free to get involved. How do I get my voice on your stream? I don't have a fucking clue. I don't have a clue. I don't know. I thought you know a bit more than me, don't you? You know more than me. I'm not very good with this stuff. Yeah. Probably something I need to look at, mate, because I'd say with some of that stuff I've never done before, you see, so it's definitely something I'd like to do, but it's just trying to work it all out, you see. That's why I tend to try to schedule stuff in and that, because then it gives me time to like trial and error stuff, that's all. Yeah, so versus a big blind free bet when we're under the gun, it likes to just fold this flop, but versus a small blind free bet, it is peeling jacks like all the time. So what if this is a raise from the hijack then? And We get free bet from the small blind. They fold, we call. Then what was the flop? It was like ace something rainbow, wasn't it? Yeah, ace of spades, ace eight of diamonds. So yeah, ace 8-3 rainbow. And then if they bet here, what do we do with jack 7? But still that's a call. Maybe it's just versus the big blind range then. So what if we open under the gun versus a small blind free bet? Fold, call. It comes ace 8-3. They bet. And then it's still a call with some folding. So it must be because the big blind range is a lot stronger. So there's actually a lot more folding with some of these hands without backdoor equity versus big blind, where small blind's probably a bit wider than the big blind. So maybe that's a note to take. Yeah, so this is like a note when I compare that hand to a hand that we discussed earlier. So folding more versus free bets from big blind after calling free bet with second pairs, etc. / marginal holdings, need backdoors, etc. So when we had jacks earlier, but we didn't have, there was 2 clubs on the board, but we didn't have a club, it was just pure fold. But when we had the club, it was a pure call. Whereas in these situations, even without any of that, it's just a call. I think you have to join voice Discord. Yeah, well, my voice works, but on my PC, my Discord on my PC, I can't get my mic or anything to work. So I'm not sure it'll work through my PC. I need to look at it, but when I've looked, I couldn't work it out because I joined the Crush Club. I joined the channel and I couldn't speak or anything. I'm not sure why. It just wouldn't work. So that's what I mean. I need to look at it still and set it up correctly. I'm not really sure what is up with it, but yeah, my voice doesn't. I can hear people, but I can't talk or anything. I know you can hear me through the stream. 1 second. Let's have a look at it. Oh yeah, you're in the voice. Yeah, see, it looks like Discord's not detecting input from your mic. Let's fix that. To do with sound settings. Yeah, I can hear you, mate. Can you hear me? Can you hear yourself on stream? Because I'm just curious as to whether. Yeah. Okay. I mean that's all right. Like I'm fine with your voice bit. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be okay as long as, like, yeah. So if anyone wants to join Discord, there is a voice channel. It's called like Study Room or something like that. Just join Discord and you can join in or whatnot. Now, yeah, sorry, Wayne. So these sessions, these are just reviews from my Bankroll challenge. These aren't them sessions that I was discussing with you. This is just a thing that I'm going to do every time we have a session and just review the previous session. But I still plan on doing like Cash and MTT study sessions. But I just want to get it really well organized. That's all. I don't want to just chuck it out there and then hope it goes. You know. I will get it sorted, mate. I will. And I'll have it all scheduled and announced and all that sort of stuff. But these are just a session that anyone can come to. You know. Um, it's basically me studying and feel free to ask me questions. Mhm. From a stream perspective, is the oh yeah, that's a lot clearer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. From a stream perspective, guys, is the voice and stuff okay? I don't want it to sound like real botched. Should be all right. I should maybe just a bit of a delay between the two. No, it should be all right, mate. It should be all right. Just yeah, we just keep it steady, and I think it'll be all right, mate. I won't worry too much. Like you say, I'll probably just be a slight delay between us. That's it. I shouldn't imagine it should be a problem. But yeah, guys, if anyone wants to join the Discord, join Discord. There's a voice channel in there, and you can get some input or whatever. And we'll just try to take it in turns to speak or whatever, so it don't get overwhelming. The only issue is I ain't got no setting to control your sound on the stream. That's the only. I don't know how loud is your voice on stream, if that makes sense, versus not overwhelming, or is it? I might be able to turn it down. That's all. What, turn it down? Yeah. All right, mate. All right, sound. Give it a go. Yeah. So yeah, I've actually fucking hell, I didn't realize how long I've been doing this. Been streaming for nearly 3 hours already. Yeah, so there's not really much to look at this hand. You've been at work, have you, mate? Yeah, fair enough. Like I say, there's no MTT stuff, but I mean, it's still valuable. It still applies to MTTs. It's just MTTs are different when you start playing shallower stacks, but it still applies. You know, it's still good study, and obviously you got ICM and all that sort of stuff. So we've got Ace 9 suited here in the button. Get squeezed here. I believe I went for a squeeze here because I felt like this guy was squeezing, so I actually went for a squeeze here. It does prefer a call, although you can squeeze, and the EV difference between these two is very similar. There's a very slight difference, 0.02 squeezing. Did call, I believe, in this. Obviously we're in position, so out of position, I probably won't favour this as much. think we checked here, although it does prefer betting here for a small amount. Somewhere between 10% and 25%, which is pretty normal for a 4-bet pot. We check though. See like a 33% lead. I think I went all in here. Solver actually just likes to pure call. The reason I like shoving here was because on some of the hands that we looked at yesterday, on these turns where we had a lot of equity, there seemed to be a lot of shoving. So that's why I kind of felt like shoving was good here. I mean, it is still plus EV, but it's the EV is slightly higher by like 3 with just calling. But I did shove, and they called. They did have queens, but then we did hit the flush. So I wouldn't say it's a huge blunder. But what I am curious about is what hands are they shoving then? So let's see what hands they do shove with instead of ace-9 suited. I'd imagine it's going to be something which isn't holding an ace. Time I click the study button, it like refresh. So right, and no, it's the right one. Yeah, so we go all in on the button. But so these are the hands that it wants to go all in with. 5-5. Okay, yeah, I suppose that makes sense. We got the back doors plus unblocking a lot. Yeah, yeah. Ace King suited. More so the ones with the diamonds. I suppose that has something to do with unblocking hearts, I guess. I know it can't be because the other two combos. I suppose it's because we've got the back doors. So we've got the back door diamonds, we've got the back door straights, and we've got the 2 overcards. That makes sense. But then, why does it favour Ace King over like Ace 9 then? I suppose Ace King's got all these other extra outs, whereas Ace 9 is. I think that's what it is. Whereas when we get called here by like queens, we're running to an ace or a heart. But when we've got, say, Ace King with the diamonds, and we shove the turn, we've got any ace, any king, any 5. I mean, it can't be that much. Yeah, I suppose then you've got 3 aces, 3 kings, 4 5s. That's 11 outs. So you're like 22% or so. When you've got ace 9, got 9 outs plus 3 outs plus. Yeah, I feel like. And then you've got the 5 as well. No. I'm actually not sure about this one. Guess what? Take the filter off. Yeah, just like almost pure calling with ace 9 suited, but suited. It's still it's like 50-50 call and shove raise. Ace queen suited is like a pure call as well. I suppose having ace king blocks them having. I suppose ace king blocks them having aces and kings. But they can still obviously have queens, jacks, tens, which are probably never fold in. But then versus queens, jacks, tens, we're doing fairly well, I guess. Whereas ace 9 suited, we block aces, but we unblock kings. I suppose ace king suited is also blocking hands like king queen suited, king jack suited. Might make a bit of sense. It does, however, prefer shoving the diamonds over the. Definitely interesting. Yeah, I mean the fives makes sense. Like I like the fives because if we look at what they're supposed to be folding here, so if this is their folding range, and if we was to shove fives here, we've got outs to their best hands. We've got any ace, we've got any six, we've got a five which might play, but we unblock. This is their folding range, so we unblock all of it. There's not one part of their folding range here that we're blocking, other than king five suited. So I understand the fives. So again, it comes back to that scenario. We need to be unblocking all them ace highs, king high combos, jack combos, ace combos. Whereas a hand like ace nine suited, we're blocking ace queen suited, ace jack suited, all these. We're blocking all this folding range here. We're blocking here. We're blocking queen nine suited. We're blocking 10-9 suited, blocking 9-8 suited. So I suppose when we've got ace nine, we're blocking quite a bit of their folding range, I guess. Whereas when we've got ace king, yeah, we're blocking the ace. But then again, you're still blocking quite a lot of the folding range with ace king as well. Like all of this here is all blocked when we have when we shove ace king on the turn. Leaves just these hands here. Well, not even ace queen off or ace jack off. Like, yeah, there's still some combos. But it's quite heavily blocked. And then we're just unblocking this folding range here. And then versus the hands that they call with, I mean, yeah, we're blocking aces, we're blocking ace queen suited, we're blocking ace jack suited, blocking ace five suited, blocking ace queen, blocking. This is with ace king, by the way. Still unblocking like 6-5 suited, 5-4. I think it's just real close. I just because the ace king does actually block quite a lot of their folding range, but it also blocks a fair amount of their calling range as well. But then again, so does ace nine. Like we shoved ace nine. We block like all their ace high calling range, blocking a very small amount of their queens, nine suited. Yeah, it's like the bottom part of their range, and we're blocking all this pocket nines, pocket 9-8 suited, 9-7 suited, 10-9 suited. But then again, I guess ace king probably does better against these hands when we do get called, I guess. Whereas even though they seem to both ace king suited and ace nine suited seem to have a similar effect, but ace king does better when we're called, I guess, in a sense, like versus some of the hands that can call. I guess that's the only thing I can really take from it. And I suppose ace king. Actually, no, doesn't. That doesn't. Yeah. What do you think, Wayne? I think that's more or less that's got to be the gist of it. I think. Because if we're not shoving, but then again, it's still like 50-50. It still just prefers a call. Like 65% of the time, we should be calling here, but shoving 10%. So in terms of range, we should be calling a lot. But I didn't. But I did get there. But I was just curious because some other hands which I see yesterday, there was a lot of shoving on the turn. But then again, I suppose this is a texture which he's not going to be too frightened of when we shove. But some of the textures that we were shoving on the turn yesterday, there were textures in which like we could have straights, we could have sets, and so on. So I suppose this board's a bit more neutral in a 4-bet pot. So that's probably what it is. No one really has like an advantage here, so that's probably why it prefers a call. Whereas we're shoving on boards, we have a bit more of an advantage on, I guess. That probably is it actually. Whereas and like Ace King suited is like one of our best drawing hands here. So like he can in theory still call with weaker flush draws and stuff like that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make that as a note. I think that is likely. Um, put it in 4-bet pots. Only shove in turn equity or on boards that favor, not on spell neutral. Would you spell neutral? Something like that. Not on neutral. My God, what is this? Um, Any shoving turn equity more on boards that favour our range, not on neutral boards. Or flat in position. I think that's like kind of basically the note I take from that hand. I think that's got to be what it is. Like, is on some of these hands which I see yesterday where they're shoving the turn, it was basically on boards which are like sort of 10, 9, 7, 6, something which was like we hit it more, but they can actually fold some stuff. Whereas I think there's just so much here that is just never folding, I guess. So I suppose calling does make more sense. And then there might be some river cards which they check back and we can bluff and so on. I think that's what the case is for that. Whereas low boards in a 4-bet pot are probably more neutral boards. So that was the last time we did. So we've got kings on the button, under the guns opens, we 3-bet. Call. And as I remember from yesterday's session, these boards are quite heavily checked, even with the overpairs. But I did bet. But you can bet, but you need to use these like small 25% sizes. So I think this bet's going to be okay. But it does prefer a check. Yeah, so betting's okay. But most of the time it wants to check. And then the other times it's like 50-50. I did make a small bet. Do get called. On the turn, it likes to check. 42% of the time. Or wants to bet like about half pot. And I did actually bet bang on what it wanted me to bet. So I bet. He does call. Yeah, and I suppose when he takes this sort of check line, I think if he had like really good value, I suppose he probably would have made some raises by now. So it does actually like a nice big juicy bet here. But I think I opted for the check because I was a bit scared. And he did actually have ace jack as well. So Jared needs like check call lines. I think maybe he needs to start betting the rivers more here. I think I just always get afraid that like someone's going to bluff. Like if I was to bet here 41, say, and I got raised, then what? Is it just going to want me to fold? Look at that. I remember thinking like at the time, I thought, oh, I feel like I should be betting this river, and then I ended up changing my mind and thought, no, I'll check it back like a little bitch. Yeah, so when they check, it likes a hefty bet. But then what if we do a hefty bet and then they go all in? So a hand like kings is like 50, like it's so close in EV. In terms of EV, it's bang on zero for both options. So it's like a mix, sometimes call, sometimes fold with kings. And it actually prefers kings over aces, and I'm guessing that's because aces would oh, but it prefers a call with ace of spades, ace of diamonds. I would have thought that would have been like a candidate to fold more, because then you're blocking the ace of spade and ace of diamond bluffs with like crush draws and stuff. Interesting. I suppose having the ace of diamonds makes it a bit more likely that they haven't got ace jack of diamonds, obviously. Um, so ace of hearts, ace of spades would block ace jack of spades, ace jack of hearts. That makes it more likely that they're probably value again. Definitely interesting. But yeah, so like, if we was to bet big there and then get shoved on, we are supposed to fold 50% of the time. But if I was playing at 5-0, I'd have to probably fold fucking 100% of the time. So this is kind of why I didn't want to bet, because I didn't want to get raised on the river. But I suppose if I do get raised on the river, I'm probably just dead. But I mean, it's very, I think versus check call lines, I think it's very hard for him to have like a really good value hand here. In terms of all ins, just to be going all in with, these are all his trash hands. Oh no, that's cool. You're supposed to be going all in with a lot of weak hands, like Jack 10 suited, 10-9 suited. Yeah, well, the issue with this is I do not see anybody at the stakes we are playing turning Jack 10 suited and 10-9 suited into a bluff. No way. They would just check call this every time. They'll either check call it or fold it. They would never turn 10-9 suited or Jack 10 suited into a bluff here. Never. They've got top pair or second pair. People at these stakes would definitely not turn his second pair into a bluff or top pair into a bluff. No way. No way at all. So, like, if we did get raised there, we'd have to pure fold. There'd be no way. There'd be no way that we can call there. And that's what I was kind of concerned of. But then I suppose if we bet there and we get shoved on, it's because we're dead anyway. So, maybe a bit more discipline then on these rivers. Like, need to start value betting more, but then folding more to get raised, I guess. So yeah, the note I'll put for that is bet more rivers for value. Don't be afraid to get raised. Don't be afraid to get sorry. Don't be afraid to get raised in check call lines. Can overfold at lower stakes on river all ins. Because like I say, with that note, just on this river when they go all in, like the solver's obviously bluffing. Sorry, I clicked the wrong. The solver's obviously bluffing with hands here, Jack 10 suited and 10-9 suited. So if we was to bet hot sides for the river value with kings, and they go all in here, Jack 10 suited and 10-9 suited are their bluffs. I can put my life on it that most people at these stakes
are not turning top pair into a bluff and not turning second pair into a bluff. I don't see it at all. Not on this texture either. They would either just call or fold. There's no way. So I think if we're going to go for these river value, I think we've got to go for the value, but then just overfold. Like their best hands here are Jack Jack, 9-9, 8-8, 6-7. So obviously, this is probably all it ever is when we do get raised here. Especially like even more so versus recreational player. Whereas in theory, we are supposed to call here with kings, queens, and so on. But in reality, I think we just bet in and fold in the river when we do get raised, just purely because they are not. This is a board where they are not turning second pair and they are not turning top pair into a bluff. And even like some good players, I don't think do either, or what we consider to be sort of half decent players. I definitely don't think they do either. So that's something to bear in mind with these solvers as well. Is that some of the hands which they are putting into bluffing ranges, I don't think reality 95% players are like you know what I mean. So yeah, this is definitely in this scenario anyway. This is a scenario where if it was Jack 9-8, 4-5, busted flush draws, and you'd three barreled into someone, and they just check called every single time on that river, they're only ever going to call with top pair or second pair. They're not going to turn a top pair into a bluff with a weak kicker. And they're not turning second pair into a bluff either. Especially not 10-9. I think people will look at that and be like, oh, well, I'm blocking queen 10 and so on. Like, I think people just call. They'll either just call or fold. And obviously, as stakes get higher, we can readjust this again. But for our current stake, I think this would just be bet river for value and then overfold to a shove. And I think that's just why I ended up checking it back, because I'm just afraid because I can never call a raise. And I'm not, as far as I'm aware, like, I don't think that should change. The fact that when they re-raise, it's going to be more value, I don't think that should change our river action. It just means that we need to fold more when we do get raised. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously checking back still decent EV. Obviously the solver prefers go for value here, and we obviously would have got it in this occasion. So we need to find more value on these rivers, I guess, in these check call lines. Any questions on that hand, guys? For anyone, that's just joined, I'll just replay down quickly for you. We got kings in the button. Under the gun opens, we free bet. They call. They check. We bet. They just call. Small sizing. They check. We bet. Half pot. They call. And then on the river, I decided to check back, but the solver wanted us to bet like sort of 90% pot. And I did check back. So this is current hand we've just observed. Do we have any questions? I'm just going to go make a coffee. So if anyone's got any questions, just chuck it in chat. I'll literally be 60 seconds for a minute. For anyone new as well, I do have a Discord channel. If you join Discord, there is a voice channel in there, so if it's a little bit easier than trying to type everything out, if you jump in Discord and join the study group voice channel, it's just a little bit easier to ask questions. But totally up to you. Totally up to you. Discord links in the chat. If you don't have it, it's !_ Discord. I'm guessing no one's got any questions with that hand, so we'll leave that one. We will be coming up to the end of this session shortly. I've been doing hand reviews for just over 3 hours. Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, I do these sessions before I start every grind. So feel like you missed out, don't worry. There'll be one at every other session. Schedule's in the About page. If you prefer, just drop me a follow and you'll get notification when I do go live. But yes, we do hand reviews every session. I can't on this one here. There we got King Queen off in the cutoff. The open. Fine. Get flatted. I think this is like a bluff line I might have taken. So it likes to check here. But I did bet. The EV is very similar. And then I felt like overbetting here, I believe. I did overbet here, but again, it does prefer a check. But the EV between overbetting and checking here, like the same. I did overbet. We do get called. And then on the 8, I probably checked. It does at this point, however, prefer a big overbet. Okay. Yeah, like at these stakes, obviously no one's folding. No one's folding like King Jack here. I don't think King Jack of clubs in particular would ever fold here. You know, they're unblocking. I mean, yeah, they're blocking like say King Queen, maybe Ace King. But they're unblocking, you know, diamond draws, heart draws, so on, ace highs. And I mean, yeah, 9 does come on the. I suppose, yes. I suppose a 9 makes a straight. You're gonna get. I suppose I could have some 9s. So I suppose they might fold a jack here on this board actually. Yeah, this might have been a blunder as well. We're blocking Queen 9 as well. King 9, blocking Queen 9, blocking King 9. I think I was just a bit concerned, like, we're blocking some of the heart draws, we're blocking some of the diamond draws, we probably want to unblock. So I was a little bit concerned about that. But when I think about it, it's probably not too bad of a combo to call. We do unblock ace of diamonds, ace of hearts, which is probably very important. Look. Yes, obviously it likes a big bet here. He's showing actions. All in, call, and fold. That's better. Right, so a big overbet. So King Queen off, like, shouldn't get here very often with it anyway. In terms of bluffs, it prefers. In terms of bluffs, it's ace 4 suited, diamonds, best candidate. Yeah, because I guess we unblock the most obvious draws, which is the hearts, and other most obvious hands here would be like King Queen, even like some of the marginal hands now, like Queen Jack, King Jack, Ten Jack, like value hands that we could fold out. Makes a lot of sense. So this combo, it unblocks the most obvious draws, but it also unblocks their weaker holdings. I mean, King Queen off was like a bad candidate actually. Or a specific comp. Yeah, Hearts, Queen of Diamonds. Yeah, so with our particular combo, it actually, when we do get there, it actually prefers a bluff quite a lot. Whereas the King of Diamonds, Queen of Hearts, it doesn't. Ah, no, it can't be that. Understand why, even though they both hold a heart, both hold a diamond, why it prefers it with the King of Hearts over the. I suppose if we've got the hearts, like Jack of Hearts, Jack of Hearts. Whereas when we've got King of Hearts, they can't hearts. Must have something to do with like unblocking some of the worst hands, like their trash hands. Like if I was to overbet here, like then what are they holding with here? Yeah, so a large portion of their folds here are like the King Queens, King Jacks, King Tens, Tens, Queens, King Queen, Ace Queen. So that's probably why a King Queen isn't like the best candidate to be bluffing with. But King Queen still unblocks like all these suited aces, which you mentioned, which is probably a decent amount of their range here. Still unblocks some of these lower suited connected, which makes sense. Obviously, like hands like Ace Jack off, still in here. There's still going to be some combos in here, even though we block them. So yeah, I can see why it's sort of a decent candidate here. But obviously, over King Queen off, it does prefer these suited aces here. But mainly the ones that unblock the hearts. Yeah, so yeah, so if we were bluffing with say the suited aces, we are blocking with these, fortunately. We're blocking these aces up here, blocking these aces here. We unblock all these suited kings, suited queens, queens, king, queen, king, jack off, which is obviously, this is like the biggest part of their range. We're unblocking the biggest part. And obviously some of these suited connectors and stuff down here too. What the phone's going crazy. So yeah, so it's not just a case of like for the best candidates, you need to block the most obvious folding hands. obviously, so yeah, unblock the most obvious folding hands for the optimal strategy, because obviously that the suited ace is obviously the most preferred, the most preferred bluffing candidate. Obviously, there is still some bluff candidates here, but for the most optimal ones, that's the note I'm going to take. And I think I'm going to make that the last hand. We've been doing hand reviews for about 3 hours 20 minutes. So now I'm going to just end the stream, put the delay on, ready for the cash grind. If anyone's got any questions, please ask away. I'll just wait a minute in case anyone's got any questions. Are you still there, Wayne, or? This is the current statistics of the Bankroll challenge. So, oh no, sorry, that was just This was my session I played off stream yesterday. It was an alright session. This is the challenge overall so far. I'm not doing too great at the regular tables, doing quite well at Zoom at the minute. But yeah, looking all right. We've 16,000 hands in. Since we refreshed the challenge, changed the rules a little bit. We are up 58.53, which is great. And yeah, can't wait to get back on the grind today. And like I said earlier, for anyone new, just drop me a follow. And we do these hand reviews every session. I hope you've enjoyed, guys. And Wayne, I will catch you a little bit later. You can hear me? Oh, I don't think it's even stream anymore. Close to the trophy room. GG's in last night, 1650. 20th, fucking hell, Wayne. You knocking on the door, mate. You're knocking on the door. Fair play, though. But yeah, cheers, guys. So yeah, these are statistics from the Bankroll challenge. Like I say, don't forget to drop a follow so that we so you don't miss the next session's hand reviews. And feel free to bring some hands yourself as well if you want. Just any hands or anything. But yeah, cheers, guys. I'm just going to set the stream up now, ready for the cash grind, put the delay on, and so on and so on. But yeah, cheers, guys. I'll catch you shortly.